Hi guys, I'm Megan Brightwood and welcome to my channel, or if you're a returning viewer, then hi, nice to see you again. I'm so glad that you're back. And if you haven't already, certainly take a moment to hit the subscribe button and notification bell down below so that you don't miss any of my videos. I do post on Sundays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, so there's been a lot of content going out, and if you don't want to miss anything, then subscribing is going to be your best bet. So I was recently asked if I would share how I block my knitwear items. So that's what we're going to be doing in today's video. But before I go into how I do that, I did also want to quick mention that I am not super particular when I'm blocking. I kind of go for a block that just evens out the stitches a little bit, and if there are certain design elements that I want to highlight a little bit more, I'll kind of work with those pieces a little bit. And in fact, in today's video, I do have a top that has a little bit of picot edging on the bottom as well as some ruffles. So I'll kind of talk about that a little bit. But for the most part, I don't really care about measurements. I kind of just go with the flow on that. So if you're looking for something that is extremely in-depth, this might not be the video for you. This is just kind of the basics of how I do it. So if you are interested in that, then here we go. Let's go on into the blocking. So the sweater I'm going to be blocking today is the Bohemian Ruffle top by Pernille Larsen. This is made out of a Cascade Heritage yarn in the colorway Golden Yellow. And really what I'm looking for to do with this is get these ruffles to lay a little bit more flat. You can see that they're kind of rolling in. They're worked in a stockinette stitch, so then it does have a tendency to roll in on itself. And even once it's blocked, it will do that a little bit. I just want more of the ruffle showing. And the other thing that I want to focus on is down here, there's a really pretty picot edge. And so I want to make sure that that is showing pretty well as well. Before I do get started, I did also want to mention that there is a button on this sweater in the back, and I do block things a little bit differently based on when they have buttons. So this particular one has a button loop, and so I went ahead and sewed the button on and did the loop and finished it completely. However, if it was a garment that had buttonholes instead, I would go ahead and block the sweater first and then sew the buttons on. It just changes the shape a little bit, so I wanted to make sure that this was nice and intact. So I'm going to block it with the button loop already on the button. But if I were to do the buttonholes, I want to make sure that the garment is ready to go before adding buttons. So moving on to how I block things. I have this little stainless steel tub in my sink here, and I'm going to fill it up with kind of cool to lukewarm water. And I'm also, while I do that, going to be putting in some of this wool wash. This is from Tuft Woolens. It's a lemon and eucalyptus scent, I believe. And this is just going to help wash the garment and get it ready to go. So I'm going to do that and come back. So I have enough water in my little tub here, and I have my wool wash in there as well. So all I'm going to do is take my sweater and dunk it into that water fairly gently. I don't want to move it around too much. You do kind of want to be gentle with wool. I just want to make sure that it's fully saturated. And then I'm going to set a timer for 20 minutes. And this soak just lets the yarn really kind of come into itself. So the stitches will be a lot more uniform and they'll just kind of look nicer. I don't even know how to explain it. You'll just be able to see as I do this. So I'm gonna set a 20-minute timer and let this soak in the meantime. It's now been about 20 minutes, so I'm going to kind of move things around here a little bit. I'm going to move my little tub here, and then I'm going to take the sweater out and rinse it off. If you don't rinse the wool wash off, it does have a tendency to get pretty stiff. So I want to avoid that, and I'm going to rinse it out pretty well with the same kind of lukewarm to cool water. So now that it's been pretty well rinsed, I'm just going to gently squeeze any excess water out. You don't want to wring this or anything. It's going to really disturb the fabric. You want to try to be as gentle as possible while at the same time getting as much of that water out. I'm just going to gently press until the majority of this is out. So I've gone ahead and moved my sweater to an old towel, and I'm going to let it dry here, but before I just let it go, I am going to kind of move it around a little bit so that it looks the way that I want it to. So as I said before, I want to pay close attention to these little ruffles to make sure that they're laying the way that I want them to. And then I'm also going to kind of try to unroll these little picot edges. If you had a blocking mat, it would be a lot easier because then you could stick a little T-pin in each of these little picot edges so that it's nice and crisp, but that's not going to be what I'm doing today. I'm just going to kind of play around with it until it looks the way that I want it to. So I think that this looks pretty good for right now. I will leave it overnight to dry probably. It does take a while, but it is completely worth it. So it looks a lot different than when we started. I'm really happy with it, and I will probably still go ahead and fiddle around with it as it dries just to make sure that it looks absolutely perfect. But that's basically how I go about blocking my knitted garments. So my sweater is now fully dry. So this is what it looks like. As you can see, the ruffles are much bigger and voluminous. There is still a little bit of curling, and that's to be expected with this kind of stitch, but it's a lot more noticeable as a ruffle now, which is what I was going for. I think it's really cute. And then, as I said, the picot edges are a little bit more subtle than if I were to have used some T-pins in there, but they are definitely still there. It gives it a much more casual edge, and I really like it a lot. So yeah, once again, this is the Bohemian Ruffle top by Pernille Larsen, and it was out of a Cascade Heritage yarn in the colorway Golden Yellow, but I'm really pleased with how that blocked up. It's changed a lot in its shape just from the blocking. So yeah, that's pretty much how I go about all of my blocking. Like I said, I do kind of do things a little bit differently depending on button placement, if there is any. If it's a button loop, I want to go ahead and put the button on before blocking. And if I have button holes, I like to block before adding the buttons, just because the shape can change a little bit. So with the button loop, I don't want that to change. And then with the button holes, it's okay if it changes a little bit. So yeah, I hope that you found this video helpful, and if you are interested in seeing more videos, certainly go ahead and hit that subscribe button and notification bell. I hope you guys are having an amazing day, and thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really do hope that this video is helpful, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!